Hello, everyone, and welcome to our commentary of Children Who Chase Lost The Place Promised in Our Early Days. This is the very first film from Makoto Shinkai, and it shows. Well, okay, that's being a tad unfair. The visuals of this film are great.
And I will admit,
As
this
always.
movie can be very much fun.
The problem is everything else.
Well, I can say the first half hour is brilliant. It's classic Shinkai.
Unfortunately, we can't judge a movie by half an hour.
Unfortunately, there's the rest of it.
I will say
The
this.
next hour of it.
I will say this. I do find this a better film than Children Who Chase Lost Voices, though.
Yeah, this one has more of an identity of it for itself.
All right, okay, we're going to start as soon as the film begins. Basically, it fades into the film itself and it has a narration. We're watching the English dub, although the Japanese version is probably the same time anyway.
Basically, start as soon
audience,
as you hear one of the characters. You know the character speaking while the screen is black.
Yeah, basically right after the Makoto Shinkai / CW little logo disappears, and you should be seeing a black screen right after that.
All right, okay, 3, 2, 1, click. Okay, my issue. Okay, I've already explained to the rest of the guys. My biggest issue in Makoto Shinkai is that outside of 2 films, the rest are really interchangeable. I won't be able to tell. I can't tell which one's Garden of Words and which one's Children Who Chase Lost Voices.
Okay,
I mean,
to be
earlier,
fair. Oh, go ahead.
earlier, the rest of us got one of our members got the titles of the films mixed up.
Wasn't that you?
No, that was Tio.
Oh, that, yeah.
What kind of local trains have only one carriage?
Yep, trolleys.
The ones that go to really small towns.
Anyway,
Okay, so
but
this
yeah.
was his first feature-length film, and yeah, and a lot of Makoto Shinkai tropes right off the bat. There's a train.
Oh, jeez, we're starting in a graveyard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh look,
Yeah,
if it weren't for 5 centimeters per second, that's where his career would have been.
Believe it or
Basically-
not,
I'm
So
not
there-
doing the drinking game because I will be dead.
fun fact,
No,
everybody.
I'll do it. I'll do it instead.
No, Dweebs, please.
Fun fact: this
By the
movie
way,
is.
what
You
is-
at least can handle more than you.
Yes, Pedro?
Fun fact: this movie takes place in the same universe as 5 centimeters per second.
yep.
How
How can we tell?
For the tower, Joe, but don't worry.
I was about
I'll
to-
put it-
I was about to say that, actually.
By the way, guys, what are the rules of the drinking game?
Okay, basically, wait. Actually,
the
I don't
sky.
even
Look at the
know.
beautiful sky.
Actually, I don't know about the Makoto Shinkai drinking game.
Take a shot every time the sky is on the screen.
Let's see. Take a
Or a
shot for every
train.
time you see a sky. Take a gulp for every time you see a
Oh,
train.
it's cool, of course.
Take a pint for every time you see some food.
Wait.
I have to mention
I'm
this.
not drinking a pint.
Of all the scores Tenmon did for Shinkai, this is my personal favorite. There's one thing about this movie that's brilliant, is the musical score.
I'm not really
Listen to-
big on people. I'm not really, to be honest. There's something about people going under weird pseudonyms that kind of I don't. It's odd. They just rub me the wrong way. It's like I usually associate. Okay, I know it's not the case every single time,
Oh,
but for the
that's-
most part,
sorry.
people who go under an alias generally aren't very good at their jobs.
That's not the
so-
case with Tenmon at all.
Satsuki's voice
Pedro-
actress
Pedro-
from Ghost Story is here too.
Pedro, I just said it's not the case all the time.
Anyway, so yeah, we open up with 2 friends, buddy.
The only person I really
One's
reckon-
called
oh,
Buddy,
sorry.
the other's Buddy.
The only other major person I recognize between the voice actors, the English one is Chris Patton.
Who?
Chris Patton.
Oh, I've
he's
heard that
he's
name before.
There you go. There you go, Teo. If you remember, Teo, there's a scene in 5 centimeters per second where we actually do see that tower.
And let's just
Oh,
say it's kind of hinted that it may be also linked to a certain thing from Children Who Chase Lost Voices, as I mentioned in that
Oh my
commentary.
god, it's the Makoto Shinkai cinematic universe.
I wouldn't
Pretty
mind,
much.
honestly.
Although, you know, a bit of backstory, me and Dwibs actually did get introduced to Makoto Shinkai through 5 centimeters per second, which actually did get me to break my trend of not really trusting romantic films that weren't comedy.
Yeah.
I'll admit, it was a pretty good, legit romantic film that did not bore me. So, why is it that every other film I've seen from Makoto Shinkai is maybe either laughing on the
gotcha.
floor or maybe me questioning his skills?
Okay, case.
Well, have you seen Your Name yet? Because Your
No,
Name is
not
really
yet.
good.
Not yet.
Oh, I've seen Your Name.
Your Name is his best since 5 centimeters. I can
I'm
tell you
not
that.
sure. I'm still not sure on that film.
I will say this though, I actually genuinely do like this film despite its shortcomings. And trust me, folks,
I don't.
The thing about Makoto Shinkai is that he's incredibly talented, but he needs someone above him to
Which is
keep
funny
him
you
focused.
Which is funny you mentioned that because he had a co-director for this film.
Yep.
So much for that theory then, Pedro.
But that's not a co-writer.
Oh, but
Yeah,
this
like
was
he-
still made. But this is still made by his studio, so I'm pretty sure he was still in control. And when I mean like someone above him, someone
the
who's the
co-direct-
boss.
Yeah, he had a co-director and he still fucks it up. But yeah, okay.
That was that. Why he had a co-director, he had no co-writers, so yeah.
But the the director usually is
To Shirakawa Senpai.
the director usually. Well, the thing with films, usually the director is the one in charge of the writer.
Yeah, it does. But here's the big difference: Makoto Shinkai is also the producer of this.
So was he okay?
so-
Okay.
so-
Let's just answer the question. Was he both the director, the writer, and everything here?
He's the writer, he's co-director, writer, and producer.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
This is his studio, so remember this is by his own studio, so
Makoto
obviously he's the one in
Shinkai,
charge.
Makoto Shinkai's The Room, produced, written, and starring and catered by Makoto Shinkai.
Anyway, these are two main characters.
Yeah.
That's more like Robert Rodriguez you're thinking of with the
Hiroki
catering.
Tentakuya.
They're just two average Japanese
They're
school
doing a
boys.
lot of sports, so like
Yeah,
Microsoft
actually,
is so proud.
Yeah, actually,
Well, remember
Jovi, you're right. If this were Rodriguez, if this were like a Rodriguez one, Miss Shinkai would have scored the film too.
True that. Also, Makoto Shinkai would have had more hits than losses.
Also,
Well,
in case you're wondering, Jova, yeah, Chris Patton is Hajime's voice actor from Ghost Stories. You know, the guy with the green jacket, the love interest for
Hold on.
Satsuki.
Whoa. I wonder if Makoto Shinkai was a big fan of that Ghost Stories anime, considering how he gets VAs from that.
It's funny you mentioned that, Tio, because Sasuke's voice
Yeah,
actress
I
is in
mentioned
this.
it before, but whatever. Oh,
So yeah, at first this film's about just general school
National
life.
Railways.
Which is what Shinkai excels at, which is why I don't understand what the fuck happens at the 30-minute mark.
Wait
but we'll
for
get
it,
to that.
guys. We'll get there. For now, let's just enjoy this wonderful story
Yeah, I
about three
can also
friends.
see why this is the first attempt, because the animation is a bit rough on the edges.
Like, what is...
The background is fine. It's clearly, hand drawn and everything. But the characters, and I don't mean in this case because perspective and everything, but I mean even up close, they don't seem too much defined.
That's
They
kind of a
don't seem-
common
they like-
thing.
Yeah, they're like made the characters look like they're on a TV budget, not a film budget.
Which is sadly kind of a common thing in anime. Like, you see a lot of reused assets and whatnot. Like, I don't want to say that anime in general, but that is one of the critiques of anime. And it probably doesn't help that this was made in 2004.
Okay, fine.
Okay, thanks, bye.
Just a city
Right,
boy, born and raised in South Detroit.
Also,
well,
where did
okay,
the
I know it's
face
not a
go?
midnight train, but close
Where did
enough.
Where did her face go in that
Well,
shot?
again, Dweebs,
Budget.
when it comes to actually, long shots where the characters are in the background, I can understand why features will be less detailed and everything.
Don't walk on the train tracks, you idiots.
Twibs, when has ever walking on the train tracks ever brought doom to a child?
Too popular.
Okay, and we're having a conflict between America and Japan, apparently, so Code Geass, but not with
Let's just say
Britain.
that, okay, to be fair, that's Shinkai trying to foreshadow what happens at the 30-minute mark. The problem is that, let's just say he should have foreshadowed it more, believe it or not.
I mean, granted, I guess...
Also, missiles.
I guess it's good enough foreshadowing. Okay. I'll be quite honest. How much it comes out of nowhere doesn't bug me. It's the level of disconnect. That's what bugs me.
Yeah. The problem is that again,
Because,
the
you
movie
know-
completely. It's not so much the fact that the genre scene changes; the outright style of the movie changes. It literally feels like we go from one movie to a completely
Although,
different one.
to be fair, I guess it's only fair to the audience that we not constantly be talking about that before it comes.
Sure. For now, basically, right now we're doing exactly what Shinkai excels at: slow, slice of life, character-driven storytelling.
Get back to work or you're fired.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I didn't say you could go.
Well, holy cow! Apparently, Makoto Shinkai did do a lot for this movie. He wrote, directed, produced, cinematographed, edited, and
Photographed.
storyboarded this.
AKA, this is all basically him. Yeah, he has a co-director, but he's the one. Not to mention, he founded the studio that's made this. So,
But hey, we got the
God,
composer.
this music is beautiful.
By the way, this also has a novel and manga.
Yeah, that's how it is. Like he actually both writes mangas and makes also.
However, the
movie
novel was
versions
not.
of it.
However, the novel was not written by him. The novel was written by Shinta Kano. That said, the manga was written by Makoto
The
Shinkai.
place promised, you mean?
Roll credits.
Okay, I got. Okay, I know this can come off as a bit overly nitpicky, but another thing I'm not really big on Makoto Shinkai is his titles. Yeah, the way how he titles his movies. It sounds a bit. And it comes off as a little bit pretentious to me. The
I don't
place
blame you.
promised in our early days. Children who chase lost voices. that
Actually,
carve
Dweebs,
an
that's
over-
kinda up to the company who actually localizes this in America and so forth. Because
Actually, no,
the
these
Yeah.
movies
original
are called
title,
the
the
exact
original
same.
Japanese title was called Beyond the Clouds: The Promised Place. So
Oh, really?
It's
Well,
the same thing.
Yeah, that kind of goes.
Yeah.
That kind of basically means the exact same thing. Honestly, just worded differently.
Although I
Hold
guess Beyond the Clouds does kind of make sense as a title for this.
Yeah.
Anyway,
just saying that if you want to complain something, complain to the localization company.
I mean, it'd be like if you called the Digimon movie the
Besides,
children with
remember
monst-
also,
children with
if
monsters
you
who
know
walk
anything
among
about,
us or
if you
something.
know anything about anime Dweebs, you know that the Japanese original titles are overly long by very nature.
anyway,
Yeah,
so yeah. So basically, our two main.
All right,
Some
so
titles will
now we
just be
cut.
full sentences.
Now we cut to this, and guess what?
Oh, it's the ship crashes and
Basically, that's to show how tall that pillar is, that it will go past
Oh
the
no,
plane.
Shinkai's trying to be artsy,
what?
and it was a dream.
Splash.
What
I
really?
have no idea what just happened.
Walking in water is enough for it to wake her up from the dream.
Oh, hormones later.
Okay, never mind.
So, anyway, this girl is named Sayori Sawatari.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sayori Sawatari.
Cool.
And the two boys are Hiroki Fujisawa and Takuya Shirakawa.
Takuya, Shirakawa.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mentioned those. Yeah.
And basically, they're both child prodigies, which means that they excel at a lot of
hey,
stuff.
Kiroi,
Mm-hmm.
did you go places like this when you were in Japan?
Not really. This is a bit too rural.
Okay. Because I'm wondering what's
Japan is not easily done. Let's just
Yeah.
say that.
how the hell are they gonna hold the
Ooh.
Rugby World? How the hell are they gonna hold the Rugby World Cup in a place like this?
There's probably a place for it.
I mean, the
Yeah.
train system is very convenient, but at the same time, be prepared to travel several hours to get to a lot of where you want to go.
I can't see any England rugby player fitting on a train.
Well, you see, guys, as school days has taught us, the trains are not only convenient for getting places, but they're convenient for cultivating romance, too.
Totally.
That's why. Is this where Makoto Shinkai met his wife or his girlfriend or something, and that's why he makes it?
Would not
Why was it
surprise
so
me.
Train stations.
Considering how Japan is, Dribs, that would not surprise me. But he gives us a place to stay.
Yeah.
They're orphans, aren't they?
Not so much that. It's more so that they bond and they become basically all three of these characters are going to become big friends over the course of this summer.
Please mind the gap between the train and the platform.
Dwibs.
He's got a
What?
point, Shiroi.
It's
And when a train needs
what's wrong with that statement? It's true. Okay, I'll never know what's wrong with it then. Never mind.
Do 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 do.
Is it Hokkaido?
Do,
Also-
do, do, do.
Also, Jova, I'm sir. Also, Jova, how are the when it comes to the Rugby World Cup? How are the Americans going to get around, considering they're in the Rugby World Cup too?
Not for nothing, Liz, but that's
we'll
not
fly. We'll
Can we
fly
please
there, I
not-
guess. That's
Can we put-
it.
Yeah.
Fly. I'll be honest. I mean, the whole even this bit, the 30 minutes before it all goes crazy, is a bit is a little bit disjointed. It's like it's really first film. What's it called? First film.
Early installment.
I talk about early installment weirdness.
I guess that would work.
Kitty.
Well, more that the way that was framed, it was like he was pissing all over the ground.
Are you drunk, sir?
No, he's smoking.
And
There's a
what's
difference.
with- Okay,
I guess
I'll-
Makoto
I'll-
really
Let's sit
likes
down
this.
in the-
I guess Makoto
Oh,
Shinkai
so
really
nice.
loves the sound of airplanes too.
Even
Yeah.
though by the decibels scale, you should probably destroy someone's ear.
Don't you see, Jova? Shinkai was born on a plane.
Sure, why not? I mean,
Sorry.
Whimsy.
I tell you, even Stephen King does not get this much with Maine as much as Shinkai does with his stuff.
Look how beautiful it is, guys.
I'm just looking at how tall that pillar is. Somebody must have been
Yeah.
compensating for something when they
I
built
was
it.
to mention-
That cost.
You were saying too?
I was about to mention the thing that Joma mentioned.
Yeah, like seriously, how much do you have to compensate to make a pillar that literally
Who
pierces
built
the
that,
heavens?
Lord Farquaad?
Probably.
Teo, that's Corrin's tower. Climb up there and you'll be able to meet Master Corrin.
So basically, these two have been working
Pedro,
on.
Don't say Corin around Jova.
What?
You don't even know what I'm referencing. So
Oh,
why are you-
him. Yeah, whatever. I get enough of. Look, I get off enough beating him up in Smash.
Also,
Wasn't-
was there a bit of flickering
Wrong,
there?
but whatever.
Dudes was talking about Corn from Fire Emblem.
Actually, I was talking about Corrin from Dragon Ball.
I noticed-
So there you
Yeah,
go.
but
I
Dwibs
noticed a
was
bit-
just making a
Eating,
joke
but
off of the
whatever.
name.
I noticed a bit of frame flickering there.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, he's
Swear
talking
I did.
about that. That's lightning.
Also, storms.
Basically, these two are working on an old down military plane. Basically, they're in a section of Japan that was occupied by.
So basically, this is kind of like the beginning of Fooly Cooly.
Basically,
guess,
this is taking place during the 1970s, and this is.
Only without the craziness of Gynax.
Hold on. Listen.
Actually, Jova, this is 1996.
No, 1974.
Look at the Wikipedia page.
Whatever.
Yeah, after the separation of Japan in 1974.
Look further.
That's after the 30-minute
Please
mark,
don't
Dwibs.
go that,
Where have I seen the plot of a movie where the aim is to get something to fly?
Plenty of
a
times.
lot, actually.
So yeah, the promise is that one day they'll build a plane
They
and
managed
they'll.
to make the plane
One
fly.
day they'll make the plane work and they'll be able to fly anywhere they wish.
Yeah. Again, they have a crashed Maritime Self-Defense Force drone
Also,
plane.
how can you make storms whimsy?
It's Makoto
Because-
Shinkai,
yeah.
dudes.
Teo, but it's a wonderful display of the sky's rage. Isn't it beautiful?
And I guess to be
True,
fair,
but it's also destructive.
I guess to be fair,
Terrified.
Storm from X-Men has shown how you can do a storm with whimsy.
Yeah, I can tell that Chris is enjoying more Ingo stories.
Yeah.
I think this was 1 year before the English dub for Ghost Stories
hold
came
on.
out. Oh, Chris, the shipping forecast.
Not just that, we're cutting to newscast.
Oh yeah, I think that.
Presented like that. Is this a Frank Miller story?
Let's see.
No.
This is okay. If this is in 1996, then yeah, the Cold War's over by now.
Well, unless it's an alternate continuity story. I mean,
Yeah.
sure. Okay, I'm just gonna drop this very delicate engine on to you two kids.
Well, they have to learn. Tim.
Remember, Tio, they're prodigies.
I wouldn't trust a prodigy though with something
Then
really
again,
expensive and dangerous.
this guy clearly doesn't know how to trade machines with proper hygiene, so yeah.
Simultaneous speaking.
It
They're
means
possessed by that
Dustin.
yokai, harmonize.
Yeah, common trope in animation in general.
Right, just need
There you go. There you go.
more
Dude.
back.
There you go. Dude. I don't care what you do, just as long as you don't die and get me in trouble.
Believe it or not, that phrase is gonna come back in quite an interesting way.
But sir, what if one of our arms is cut off?
Well, then that's
I
your
don't
problem, not
care.
mine.
Oh, so it's no problem yours one of our limbs is cut off, but if we die, that's where you draw the line.
Hey, that's what the courts decide.
Also, she's a violinist.
That ties into the plot too. You'll see.
Okay.
Well, what does she do? Use the violin?
She's about to play the main theme of the score for us. So
Ladies and
shut up. So shut up and listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, Yoko Shimomura in her childhood. She would later have to change her name because of how traumatic the events of the sim will be for her.
I thought Shimomura's instrument of choice is the piano.
Yeah.
Strings, though,
Usually.
Dwibs. Strings. She also does a bit of violin here and there.
Well, but again, many composers' choice of
Jesus.
instrument is the piano.
Yeah. Basketball.
You know, there's another thing I noticed, particularly in these kind of animes.
It's
Similar to
so
how food is also
beautiful.
detailed, musical instrument. There's a lot of musical instrument porn.
Guys, I think 10 months to hypnotize Pedro.
But
Not a lot of
it's so
time.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's not like the food, but it's also present.
Yes, back in the 90s when the internet was, anything people imagine it to be.
Let's face it.
Yeah,
Just give,
that
me,
too.
give me those glorious 56k sounds.
Oh, so hang on. This is 1996 in Japan.
Yes.
So after what happens here, they'll have Crash Bandicoot to distract them.
True.
So wait, in order to launch the plane, we're gonna have to use the rails to, speed him up.
It looks
Yes.
like they have looks like the remains of a plane because that does not look safe.
You see, what happened is Shinkai is, and this is actually true. He said it first. Shinkai is a big fan of Hayao Miyazaki, so he's trying to channel his love for planes.
Okay.
Wait,
You know
Hayao
all this- you
Miyazaki
know all
has a
these-
love for planes? Huh.
Oh, you
yes,
have no idea.
That reminds me of when I was
Java-
going for
Java, planes are his equivalent of Shinkai's sky.
And
Yeah.
trains.
That reminds me when I was going through a phase of being obsessed with aviation. I was watching all documentaries.
Ooh.
I even had a couple of plane models.
Oh, in that case, Debs, you should watch The Wind Rises. I'm sure
Yeah.
you'll like that movie then.
Or Porco Rosso.
I'm not sure I have the Blu-ray anymore. I'm pretty sure there'll be a Ghibli Blu-ray box set released or something.
The Wind Rises is basically a biopic of one of the great
Black and white,
plane
that's
designers
what
from
it
Japan.
is.
Black and
Oh no!
white.
Oh,
no.
yeah. Shinkai's
Oh,
being
God.
artsy, guys.
Guys, the plot's here.
I feel so coked out.
Seriously, it looks like he's spaced out on some sort
What
of
See-
the
drug.
fuck?
That's exactly the thing, Teo. This is Shinkai trying to foreshadow later, but
The movie blows up.
it just comes off
Although-
as confusing.
Well, it kind of reminds me of that other. I forgot what it's.
What?
Basically, she had that hallucination, and as a result, she fell. So she's almost
She can't swim, can she?
no.
Why, oh why
Wow.
would you hang over the ledge over that water if you cannot swim? I will never understand people
Because
who do that.
teenagers do stupid things. Let's face
It
it.
reminds me of that Akira Kurosawa movie, Rhapsody in August, where that granny, where the granny keeps having PTSD over the atomic bomb.
Wow, you seem rather nonchalant about nearly falling to your doom there, girl.
I think she's a bit confused.
You think?
Well, I'd be confused too if I saw an hallucination blowing up in front of me.
Oh shit!
Oh crap!
Oh
And
crap.
Oh, plot twist: the water wasn't that high to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't look like it.
Huh.
See, look, they can walk in it. So yeah.
So, you saved me for nothing.
Well, there was an attempt.
Oh god, that's right, and it helps cultivate that relationship. Oh,
There you go.
and hey, there's always room for free. You had me so scared. What were you having, a tense moment or something?
I was just having fun. Pulling people
And-
into the water is how I
And
enjoy my.
Hidetaka and then Hiroki died.
Yeah, it turns out he's extremely allergic to water, which leads me to wonder how the hell he survived. But still,
I really wish the plot was just these two growing up and having to deal with stuff.
seriously, how do you survive if you're allergic to water?
He's free right now.
Of course, Ladybug.
I had a weird dream that the movie just exploded and started falling apart.
So similar to that sequence in Terminator 2.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but the movie actually got better and better as it went on. Especially the extended version.
Okay, so yeah, they're
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
suggesting
whoa.
that that pillar...
The first extended version.
They're suggesting that at the top of that pillar is a different world, another dimension.
Hmm.
Alternate dimension.
Yeah, that's just the thing. First, this is the first problem. Like up until this point, despite those little moments, the movie's being classic Shinkai, but starting from this point in the movie, it's going to basically turn into Beyond Two Souls, where we're trying to research interdimensional traveling.
Yeah, it was. I mean, when Pokemon started doing interdimensional travel, it was getting that was a little bit silly.
I think
even
it's
for
now,
Pokemon
actually.
standards.
If I remember
Didn't,
correctly. Yeah, it's now. 3 years later. Now we
Okay,
skip
folks, strap on your seatbelts.
Didn't Voices of a Distant Star also did this?
Okay.
Voices of a Distant Star was a short movie, though, so we haven't come. We'll get to that.
So,
Okay.
3 years later...
3
Yeah,
years later.
yeah. That's another thing. The 3 year skip is a bit too abrupt. You couldn't at least tell us what happened in the intervening time.
I actually wonder if these first 25 minutes were supposed to be just like a standalone short movie, and this like a second.
Okay,
part.
Teo. From this point on, the movie this turns into a completely different movie.
Alright, it's time now I reveal...
You know how they wanted to be aviators? Now they're interdimensional research scientists, and they're trying their best to research the tower.
And also Teo turns on your...
Hold on. Let me listen.
Algorithm.
Probably a good time to mention, the official genre for this movie is an anime science fiction war drama film.
Okay,
That
okay,
wasn't the voice I was expecting.
All right,
from
I'll be fair. There have been plenty of sci-fi war drama films.
Also, this is
I
set...
don't understand why these supposed genre shift is that problematic.
I honestly am not that bugged by it either.
Yeah, well, that's the thing to you. For the past nearly half an hour, It's been mostly about just 3 kids, a lot of gagging around and all that.
Well, yeah,
All of a sudden we
character
got into
introduction.
now all of a sudden, but normally it transitions into that. Have the kids graduate from school or something. But no, we get thrown into interdimensional travel and phases and quantum mechanics.
Admittedly,
When earlier, the most complicated they got was being a car mechanic.
I've seen plenty of films do this sort of stuff, so that in and of itself doesn't bug me. Again, what does bug me is the bit of disconnect that
Besides, there's
will
an
go over
hour
the
left,
bunch of
so
the film.
let me see how they actually handle this kind of thing.
Also, Tia, it turns out you were right. This actually is set over several years in an alternate history where the Soviet Union occupies half of Japan.
Why it's always the communists?
But yeah, basically now we're 3 years in the future, where the 2 boys have stopped working on the plane, and basically Takuya here is working as a physicist at an Alliance scientific facility sponsored by the United States' National Security Agency, researching parallel universes.
Does the plane make another appearance?
Yes, it does.
Yes, it
Probably
does.
it's gonna be symbolic near the end or something.
It is.
Like I'm in agreement with both Dwebs and Jova. Like I still think we could have had somewhat of a transition between the 2 periods. We could have had somewhat of a smoother transition. We literally jumped straight into this. It should have been smoother, honestly.
Yeah.
And second, like Jova was about to say earlier, the problem is that there's kind of a disconnect in the sense that they don't do a good job connecting the 2 halves of the movie, or well, rather the 2 last thirds of the first third, rather.
Let me put it like this. When I first saw this movie, I was expecting this to be like Batman Begins. Batman Begins hops a bit all over the place between younger Bruce, teenage Bruce, and adult Bruce. The difference is that it's connected all the way through, whereas with this second half, while we do jump back a few times in the past, it's not enough. That said, though, it's up to you how much you judge it, Tio. Again, to me, it doesn't bug me as much as it does Pedro and Dibs, but it does kind of become a bit of an issue, I will say, eventually. For now, though, it's fine. For now.
I would say it's incredibly jarring.
Oh, right, sure, I watched this too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I did too.
I remember Dibs.
Yeah,
by the way,
you already mentioned you, but yes, I did watch.
And by the way, Takuya now has a scientist assistant who has a secret crush on him, of course.
Of course. Gotta be the glass.
Is this Ricky Evangelion now?
No, nowhere
no.
near that bad, Dibs.
Dweebs, if this was Evangelion, there would be much more angsting and much more
Masturbation.
If this is Evangelion, I would be having suicidal thoughts right now.
Wait, you hate that anime that much?
I would have.
Yes, I cannot stand that anime.
Again,
Question.
Again, Fully Cool is a much better alternative when it comes to guy.
Question, Pedro. Are you referring to like the actual anime, or are you talking about End of Evangelion?
The anime in general, I cannot stand
As
the
a whole,
protagonist.
Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations.
Jova, please.
Oh, you've seen that one too, Shiroi?
I don't.
Is this how you end the series? Anyway, it rains.
Yeah, it's raining. It's raining and. Wait,
there you go, Dweebs. You made the sky sad.
There you go, Dweebs. I hope you're happy.
We are
Are you
now
sure?
in England.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. You sure this isn't set in England or Swansea?
Thank.
Dweebs, newsflash, it rains everywhere on the planet.
Well, actually Swansea is known as the wettest city in Britain, so.
Yeah,
That's what.
Yeah, he's right.
That's what
So-
she said.
Moving on.
So, Takuya is working as a physicist.
Oh, there you go. See, he was commenting on her. Hold on.
Now, what became of Hiroki, we wonder?
No, that's not even the problem, Jova. What kills me is what became of Saori.
Oh, that's gonna be a little funny thing, considering a running gag we've got going.
Pedro, remind me, no one's died off screen or something.
No.
Oh, thank God.
Well, meanwhile, the guy who...
Something did happen off screen, not death, but something did happen off screen.
Meanwhile, the guy who looked after the 2 boys at the mechanic shop aged pretty well, considering how he looks pretty much how he did back when they were kids.
Well, the transition was only like 3 years, wasn't it?
True. I've got to say,
4 years.
Takuya shot up in height there.
Free.
Well, that's what growth spurts will do for you.
Yeah.
But there's a side effect to that, though. They
post.
hurt.
Why
They
do we have a
hurt.
French box there?
Oh, well, remember, Tio, alternate history.
But aren't we supposed to be under Soviet control?
Not anymore. Again,
One
like
thing that I'll also say, and this probably also has to do with the whole first movie thing, the character design for this woman, like her face looks almost exactly like Sayori's face, and that was like kind of a mistake because it threw me off the first time I was watching this. But wait, is
I
that
was thinking,
Sayori?
are they the same character?
No, they're not.
So anyway,
Hold on.
Now, dinosaur fossils?
We're explaining
Yes.
everything evolution.
Where did this come from? How did we go from free school
So
children
she's an
lollygagging around?
anthropologist.
How did we go from free
not quite.
school- everybody else like-
So. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So,
analogy
yes.
nowadays.
Everybody loves the tower because it's an excuse to look at the sky.
So yeah.
Actually, I'm thinking of something else.
So basically, here it's revealed that you remember Mr. Okabe, the guy who was the boys' boss? Turns out that was kind of a front. See, he's actually the leader of this Ulita
Organization.
Liberation Front, basically, and his factory workers are the other agents of the organization.
It's a series of unfortunate events. Secret
Oh, give me a
organizations.
second and I'll explain.
What?
What do you think they are? Steve Austin?
Duh.
What? I'm doing the wrong voice. What? There you go. Oh, wait. Japan do right-hand drive? Yay! How driving should be done, in my opinion.
Gee,
I
I'm
don't
sure you're
remember
not
exactly
biased at
where-
all by that.
I don't remember if they've already met this
No,
have they mentioned-
they've not. They've not yet. We'll actually be seeing that soon enough.
Alright. Oh, September 9th, my birthday. Huh.
How can you tell?
So let's cut to a medical research lab.
Because it's in Japanese on mine.
There was the copy I'm using actually had a label. Anyway, I think I kinda can explain the tower. Well, I haven't seen, I guess, the full picture, but I think it's an allegory for the Tower of Babel. You know,
It may be.
what mankind, when mankind tried to supposedly reach God by creating the tallest tower ever made, but in their arrogance, they basically doomed themselves.
So what you're saying is that this tower actually did manage to succeed. Huh.
By the
Well,
way,
it
be
is
sure
tied to
to
knowledge, and it's attracting with its power of knowledge the people around it. So maybe.
Be sure to what, sorry?
By the way, Jovo or Teo, be sure to tell me when they finally explain what happened to Sayori during these 3 years, because that's one of my biggest problems. That's my biggest problem with the movie. So I want to actually be able to properly talk
Anyway.
about that.
Ooh.
Oh, I think this is it, actually.
Wait for it.
Also, Renault, I think it's that symbol.
Mercedes.
Oh, hey,
Yeah, it's
a
Renault.
Mercedes.
I think it.
Not
Is
a
it a
car
Mercedes?
expert.
Me neither.
When coming, I watched Top Gear a lot.
Mm. Also, more planes.
And Sky.
Yes.
Should have been called Makoto Shinkai or
Oh.
do something.
Dwebs,
Hold on.
sit down. You have to learn
Patience.
something.
Seriously, this film's gotten so boring. It's bogged down in freaking exposition about
If you
quantum
paid
mechanics.
attention to the lecture,
have
maybe
no
it wouldn't be
patience.
so boring, now would it?
True, sure is a point there.
But how did we go from three teenagers all gagging around to a snore fest?
I don't
Because
know.
teenagers have to grow up and go to university, which is
If
no
I had to
offense
be honest, I'm
Miss
more
Luscious.
interested in this than in the first part so far.
Yeah, I'm gonna admit the first half kind of bores me by comparison. I mean, that's not to say that it's bad.
First half hour, in my opinion, was just disjointed. This is now. Well, I'm not going to fall asleep because I'm a professional. Damn it!
Anyway,
wouldn't be the first time, but
But it
whatever.
isn't helping.
Basically,
Also,
though, again, parallel world technology has now been looked into a lot more,
and they're preparing to actually officialize precognition, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Popsy.
God dang it!
Popsy, eh?
What is this? A
Well,
Sony film?
Where is Popsy?
Pops.
Yeah, but the actual logo still is clearly Pepsi. So
Boy, so that Popsy Man game must have been something else.
Maybe it's Japanese for Pepsi.
I don't know. I'll check.
No, it isn't.
Oh, it's not. What, have you seen a sign somewhere?
Well, Dwibs, going off of the fact that we have a game called Pepsi Man, which is exclusive to Japan,
Well, actually, recently,
I'm guessing the way they call it is Pepsi.
Recently, Pepsi launched a special Pepsi for Japan only called J Cola, and there's actually a cake flavored Pepsi there.
Why would they name a Pepsi J Cola when Cola is kind of Pepsi's #1 enemy?
Because I don't know.
Ooh. Nanomachines, son. You gotta use them, right?
I'm surprised Pepsi's popular in Japan, considering how xenophobic they are, but
Japan can be very weird and hypocritical. Also, thankfully, not all the Japanese are that xenophobic.
true. I've actually tried sushi.
How'd you like it?
Eh.
Yeah. I'll just stick with shrimp.
We can have shrimp. Let's talk about freaking food. Well, concentrate.
Is this Steve Blum voicing that guy?
See, the thing is, for me, it's.
I think the cast are all from Texas.
See, the thing is, for me too, regardless of which faces of this movie is more interesting, or rather, like the point is that I wanted Shinkai to pick one and stick with that one. That's the basic point I'm trying to make.
Granted, to me, it's not even really different genres. I kind of agree with you, like, well, the first 30 minutes is meant to be set up later. Again, my main worry is going to be about actually bridging the gap between the two. That's the that's the main issue I have.
Yeah, me as well. But I'm waiting for them to finally mention where the hell is Sayori doing all of this.
Which one's Sayori? Is it their
The girl.
friend?
The girl, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And
Leave it up to America, son. Plot twist, the alternate universe they're talking about is our actual universe.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's now, actually.
It would-
Far
it would
off
be exactly-
memory that's like a far off dream. A far off
It would be
dream that's like a
exactly-
far off
That
memory.
would be exactly like Pokemon.
Alright, I think it's now. Yeah, it is.
Not yet. Basically, we're getting this narration, but yes, we're about to find out what happened.
Oh my lord.
Birdemic?
But no. No.
That
Please,
looked
no.
like the birds from... Well, okay, it didn't look like the birds from Birdemic, but they were doing the same thing the birds from Birdemic do. Just hang awkwardly places.
Has she been hiding out of school this whole time?
I wish. Look at that, because it was her old seat, and
I thought it was glowing because there was some accident or something.
Dweebs, why would somebody urinate glowing pee?
It can happen
Really?
sometimes. It depends.
What were you drinking that night?
Cider.
How did you get cider? Never mind. I don't want to know what goes on between you and your toilet.
Then why did you ask?
All right. If you
Okay.
allow me. Okay. Here's the big problem.
Oh
that I have
wait,
with
we're
this
still
movie.
not there yet. God dang it.
Well, we kind of are, but whatever, fine. If you want me to wait, I can wait.
More planes.
And Sky.
Just why didn't they could have called this film The Planes Promised in our earlies.
But Wibbs.
It's
The
not
sky,
pretentious
it's so
of enough.
beautiful.
Oh. Ooh.
I can make a pretentious title about planes. The big metal bird in the sky that flies. There, where's my Oscar?
Hold on, listen here.
The script?
The script. Tanks.
Oh yeah, I think it's now actually. All right.
So basically, Sayori disappeared 3 years ago. However, we're about to find out what happened with her.
Okay.
Um,
I've already got my rent pre-planned.
Is it what
Look how
happened?
beautiful the birdies are.
Is it what happened to the
Wibbs, the birds, they're beautiful.
Is it what happened to the female character of Your Name?
No.
No, your name has nothing to do with the only movies in common that at least that we know of are 5 centimeters and this one.
Excuse me. You're leaning on it. Every time I get home, where's the door? Is that what you said? Where's the door? Or am I getting it? Or did I hear it wrong?
Yeah, you misheard it.
Yeah, I thought I did.
And look at that. He's been trying to learn the violin just like Sayuri.
Good job we can't hear it.
Don't worry, Dweebs, they're saving it.
He's got a PlayStation.
Dodo?
Is he in Tokyo now?
Yes.
Alright. So he's become a recluse, pretty much. He even looks a little bit like that character of Ghost Stories.
All right.
Is that a?
Yeah, there you go. Now it's time. Okay. Here's what happened to Sayuri.
She got hospitalized with a
She got
case of
hospitalized.
with a case.
Yes, she has an hold on, Jeff, I'm doing it. She has an extreme case of narcolepsy. She has been continuously sleeping for most of the 3 years. And because of that, her mind is trapped in an unpopulated parallel universe where she's all alone.
Basically,
That's
what
how narcolepsy works.
Okay.
Are you serious?
Okay, here's the problem I have with this. One, couldn't we actually, see this happening? Or at the very least, get some kind the problem is that this just kind of comes out of nowhere. I mean, even the whole, the whole hallucinations that she was having earlier. Okay, there's something wrong with the tower, but how do we go from that to extreme narcolepsy that somehow transports you to a different dimension where you're all alone? See, the big problem I have with this is that, again, are we even still in the same movie?
Do you?
I mean,
Oh, go on.
pick one. You want to make a sci-fi movie for dimension travel? Fine, but transition into it at least.
Are they being attacked by the Yakuza?
Anyway, I guess.
And the movie will never explain how this all happened all that well.
Explosion?
Anyway, I guess to be fair, we actually did get hinted at this thing as how she did days off here and there. And as for the narcolepsy, that was her condition worsening into that. So, I guess to be fair, we did get explained that. The thing here is like, well, apparently they're going off of the Knight's logic where, these dreams or people dozing off into it lead to them in the parallel dimension, which I guess means that their dreams and whatnot are the parallel universe. That is not the best explained, I will admit. I mean, granted, it is technically there. I just wish that they did more with that concept, whereas... my issue here is like, well, she's apparently the only person this happens to this extent. Like, well, I mean, I'm not even too bugged by it because I do feel that they did foreshadow it technically. That's all fine, but I guess I'm just wondering, why is she the only one who's suffered this much? Like, why aren't we hearing about this like being an epidemic or something? That's my only real grievance with it. Otherwise, I'm fine with it. But yeah, it's iffy.
My problem is that, again, Shinkai, you had two concepts. Pick one, make a movie about that concept. You want to make a movie about a girl trapped in a different universe? Fine. Make the movie about that. And actually properly explain how the hell we came to this point.
I mean, he did technically explain that, and that is what this has been about. Again, my grievance is like, well, I just have a...
How exactly does narcolepsy put you into a different dimension? I'm not familiar with that medical concept that narcolepsy transports you to a different dimension.
Well, Pedro, this is kind of a fictional universe. Basically, the deal's like,
in fictional universes usually explain their inner logic.
Let me finish. Apparently, the logic of this universe is like, well, certain people who fall asleep and dream to the extent that she does, well, her hallucinations were apparently her going to this different dimension. And apparently, the narcolepsy only made it worse. See, apparently going to the different dimension is tied to, the dreams and hallucinations. So the narcolepsy itself is not, per se, the main cause of it. It's the reason that she's now stuck in it, apparently.
The thing is, we get that, but the movie itself doesn't actually explain it, and it should be the movie explaining it, not you.
Oh, the movie does explain it, but let me put it like this. The movie does explain it, but it explains it poorly. As in, way too quick, and really, again, the fact that she's the only one who falls under this condition... I'm not talking about narcolepsy. I'm saying, like, well, the fact that she's the only person who, has gone to this world this much, yeah. It's like, well, look, I'm fine with this concept because they do explain it fine enough, although I still think that they could have explained it better. My main issue is like, well, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna buy that she's the only one this has happened to. Like, well, that's where I kind of don't really buy it that much.
There you go, now she's actually seeing her own physical body.
A common thing that happens to some people. No idea how that happens, but somehow. But yeah. And that's right, the government may actually be using her as a means to try and look further into their project.
Because of course they are.
Because of course they
Okay,
are.
now...
The evil government.
This... Like Jody all over again.
Okay, now this is where the plot starts to lose me a bit. Like, again, she's the only person, and yet the government is going to try and use this. Like, well, again, maybe if more people were under this condition, I could see the government doing it as a means to try and help people. But no, she's the only one who can do this, so the government is apparently using her just for the discovery, I guess. Like, screw humanity or anything.
You there, Tio?
The dialogue in this narration is also quite pretentious.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, hey,
I'm
Tia.
sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry too. I think he's cutting out, guys. Yeah, he is. Sorry too.
Sorry.
Is it your connection again, Tio?
Okay.
Huh. Odd.
You hear me now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah. I will say, however, that your name handles its supernatural elements a lot better than this one. But go ahead too. Dun dun dun.
See, now here's where I have an issue because, okay, Shinkai, you explain enough. The way this works is that people go to sleep. But why is it just when he or she goes to sleep, this or that? That's my main issue. It's like, well, now this is the part where I want some more explanation. Like, okay, does something decide when a certain person goes into this different dimension or whatnot? Like, to put it best like this movie overall is a good idea, but it lacks the foundation in those bits that seem insignificant, but when you actually watch the film, realize they're pretty crucial.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, we even had all those bouts where people were, in the dark, lit rooms talking about their theories of quantum physics and, the different dimensions. So why couldn't we have gotten a scene where someone at least gives a theory about how this stuff works? Like, why it only affects certain people? Like,
I think what
no
Joe was
scene
trying
like
to say
that.
is, sorry. I think what Joe was trying to say, and I agree, is that the logic of how this all works is way too vaguely defined. Like they
Yeah.
should have been a bit more specific with the explanations of how this whole works and shit. But go ahead, Joe. You're back with us. I guess not. All right.
We're losing the patient, or...
No, actually. Oh, hold on. I think Teo is coming back. Yes, Teo? Hmm.
And now the world is doomed?
Yeah, suddenly apocalypse. Hmm.
Huh. Interesting. So they're using Sayuri as a means to monitor the parallel world. Okay, interesting enough. So what exactly does that tell them about the world? Like how stable it is or something?
You're throwing way too many concepts at us, Makoto. Pick one and expand upon it, and don't try to throw all this shit.
That's
into
not
just
even so much the problem, Michael. It's clear what his focus is. Oh, yes,
hold
Theo?
on. You're back with us, Tom?
now?
Yes.
Yeah, now we can. Sorry,
For
Theo.
context,
Go
I've
ahead.
been kept up with the movie so far, so don't worry
Okay.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, like, well, I mean,
to
it's...
tell me what I don't know because I.
Don't worry,
That's
Theo,
okay.
we get it.
Don't worry, we get it.
But yeah, it's...
I can tell you this. I can tell you this. Sorry. Oh,
Sorry, Theo.
So you're only just now mentioning this. Also, yeah, that stalagmite looks familiar. In fact, it very looks like the very crevice you can crawl out and into from Children Who Chase Lost Voices. Ain't that a coinky dink? What do you think, Pedro?
I guess that's a good theory enough, I guess. That's the end of the dream.
I have no idea what that subtitle even said.
Whatever, don't worry, Joe, it doesn't really matter. It's just them saying where exactly we are, not that it matters that much in the grand scheme of things.
So what have I missed?
Oh, hi, Miss Blandy Bland, who's
Basically,
who's just here to be heartbroken.
Basically, Dweebs, it seems like the parallel dimension may be overlapping into our universe and threatening the entire world. Meanwhile, the government...
Sonic X.
Meanwhile, the government is using Sayuri, who's comatose thanks to narcolepsy and who's stuck in the parallel dimension, to monitor how the parallel dimension is going. And meanwhile,
when you say it out loud like that, it sounds really fucking stupid.
How?
Anyway, you back with us, too?
You know, Pedro.
All right.
You know, Pedro. I'm really glad that 5 centimeters per second helped redeem Shinkai, because this is a really bad first impression of him.
It depends. How is the reception to this movie, anyway?
It helped. Well, it's mixed. Some people like it, some people don't. Like, basically, the two movies that are definitely overall really well received are 5 centimeters and Your Name. The others are mixed. Like, some people like it, some people don't. Like, kind of veers off. It's like I said before.
And then
like,
there's
Makoto
Garden
Shinkai...
of Words, which is just mainly negative.
Oh, yeah. Garden of Words, I'm not even going to talk about that. We already have a commentary for that. Go watch it if you want. Oh, and she's naked now.
Why do we have to do this? I mean, can't we give her a hospital gown or something? Like, it's simple hospital etiquette.
I'm pretty sure patients are not just left there naked. I mean, maybe there's some kind of examination that requires her to be naked, but it's not like they explain that.
It's not even hygienic. Also, so now Takuya does know, in fact, that his friend is being held captive there now. Now he just has to let Hiroyuki know.
Mm-hmm.
The tower is a weapon? Oh, for God's sakes.
Yeah, the tower is also now a weapon.
I get it, because, if we use parallel dimension travel, that will give us the advantage over our enemies.
Did David Cage suddenly take over the movie?
Well, actually, Pedro, if this were David Cage, the acting would be as flat as a board.
And the story would be even more nonsensical.
God damn it, America.
Also, has anything actually happened?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we're heading towards the climax.
That's the problem with a slow-paced movie. If you do it wrong, it can make it seem like absolutely nothing's happening.
Granted, it also depends on the patience of the audience viewing it.
It's half and half. I mean, I've been known to be a really impatient bloke. So I love the reaction.
Oh, by the way,
I love the reaction, though. A strange phenomena is going on in everyone's cafe their dinner.
Oh, their old cat friend.
Oh, by the way, another thing that I'd like to mention. You know how we mentioned in the first half hour that Sayuri's grandfather was a Union physicist researching the tower. Well,
Yeah.
turns out, apparently Takuya learned that Sayuri was used by her grandfather to channel all the tower's unstable dimension-creating energy somewhere other than Earth The implication of him not having done so likely having resulted in the dimension creating chain reactions around the tower to continue growing in area to envelop the whole world.
So basically,
Let me
Sayuri
try
is the key
explain that
to
again.
everything.
Let me explain that in more simple terms. Basically, her grandfather is an evil scientist of sorts that, using her to fuel the interdimensional powers of the tower, created an alternate dimension where Sayuri is now trapped.
So you're telling me that her grandfather created the alternate dimension?
It's what it says on here. I'll check out the plot on the wiki if you don't believe me. It says it right there.
So, do we ever actually see her grandfather? Or are we just told
No,
this?
no, we're only told about him.
So that's why vaguely it's explained, because Sayuri is literally the plot MacGuffin for this.
Basically.
So that's why she was able to contact Hiroki, because, you know, friends and whatnot, she could connect to him. So essentially Sayuri has the power to generate an alternate universe because she had because she had narcolepsy.
Apparently, yeah.
Can I also bring up another problem of a slow-paced movie if it's done wrong?
Sure, go ahead.
It can be really. I know I said this before, but it can be really boring. And that's
If you
saying
don't have
something.
patience, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you want to say something?
How the time is not even down to patience.
Well, I can understand why people may come off
Shoot
and
the
say
plane!
that the movie has an identity crisis, but I can still understand the basic idea at the end of it. Even the supposed connection between the first third and this.
Yeah.
Basically, it's kind of like of how growing up the life of these three boys, with two boys and this girl actually deteriorated because of the war and this research.
Yeah.
But I think, hold on. I think though it could have been conveyed just a bit better because I think the movie is trying to throw a bit too much element at the same time. But I think I understand still the basic idea.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand it as well.
I agree with Tio on this. It's like when
it reminds me of a abridged, simplified version of a Metal Gear game.
What was with the gun scene just then?
Basically, Hiroki is basically arguing that they need to let all their dreams go because
is
basically
angsty because he's a terrorist now.
Yeah.
Oh wait, yeah. Basically, Takuya thinks that Hiroki also needs to let go of this because he thinks that Hiroki is kind of going on a wild goose chase, you know, because it kind of sounds a bit insane the way he puts it. And yeah, Takuya's been a bit hardened by war, but yeah, I'm definitely in agreement with Tio. It's like, well, honestly, to me, this does not feel like several movies mushed into one. This feels like one movie that's itself in its own. Yeah, I mean, the 30 minutes was a bit different, but that really doesn't surprise or bug me at this point because, yeah, at this point, I just consider it an introduction. My main issue is how the plot holds itself together.
I know that the concept of parallel multiple infinite dimensions is very thin, more similar to time travel than anything, and inadequate writer can actually fuck up really easily with this. But as a person who has seen a lot of stories centered around the multiverse, this concept of multiverse, I can tell you that this one makes a bit more sense than much more others. It's still not charming, but...
Does she really need to do that?
I don't know.
But yeah, I think it's kind of.
I've been watching too much Unfortunate Events. I thought I was just gonna say the world is quiet.
I think it's kind of a shame though, because honestly, I think there was a lot more potential to do with like a parallel dimension plot. Yet here, it's not really much because essentially.
Well, if anything, it reminds me a bit of Bioshock Infinite. It's a bit of cop out, but it's
you know what I think?
Up for any of the other movies to be kind of continuing.
The difference being is that we know what happens after Bioshock Infinite.
You're fine. I think at least.
Yeah.
You know what's also the problem? I mean, Your Name was a great movie, but the problem is that it was all it needed was a bit extra runtime, like extra 15 minutes to further flesh out the relationship a bit more, and it would have been just right, just perfect for me. This movie, on the other hand, this movie is trying way too many things under such a short running time. If Shinkai really wanted to go with a movie that has this many elements, he should have made it like at least 2 hours, so that he can actually have the proper time to transition between all of them and actually explain things.
Honestly, I wouldn't even chalk it down to time. It's also his prioritization of what he tells the audience or whatnot, because, again, this could have been a good film, but they spend a bit too much time talking about superficial stuff that we don't really need to know of, especially considering how, like you yourself said, the payoff is essentially, oh, her grandfather generated this, so all that theorizing is kind of for nothing.
Also, I actually have one legitimate question. Who am I supposed to root for?
You're supposed to root for the two boys, basically.
The 2 boys. Basically, the
but
goal
they
is...
are actually in conflict with each other. What's the name? Takuya is a strong believer of Okabe's terrorist cause, while Hiroki is actually instead a more pro-government person.
But here's the thing, Tio. It's all going to come down to the main goal, which is just rescue Sayori, because she's the source of all this.
For the sake of, don't worry, Teo, I will agree with you, yeah, definitely. Yeah, there are far worse interdimensional traveling stories that I've ever seen, Beyond Two Souls being one of them. I'm by no means saying that this is the worst. I'm by no means saying, well, that's more time travel. But
no,
yeah.
Sonic 06 is time travel, sure, not dimension hopping.
I'm by no means. I want to
think more about Bioshock Infinite for a comparison.
Although, I'll be quite honest, I'm not that fond of Okay. Bioshock Infinite is fun to play, and the story is...
It makes sense, but it's a cop-out. Think about what you will.
Yeah,
anyway,
that's the best way to put it.
I'm by no means saying that, no, this is the worst or anything like that. But by no means, there are plenty of, I'm just saying, I'm not even saying that this is all that bad or anything. The big thing is that, again, as someone who actually has seen all of his movies, and I really love 5 centimeters per second. I still think it's his best film. And again, Your Name, I'll just say Your Name handles the supernatural elements it has much better than this movie does.
So basically, this is the part where Takuya is actually firing her, because basically, let's just say something dangerous is about to go down and he doesn't want her
to get... but I already, my heart belongs to another.
Let me finish. That's actually not what's going on, though that would have been a funny joke.
Just joking. Go ahead.
Basically, though, he's firing her, letting her go, so that she doesn't end up getting into the crossfire of what he's about to do.
Yeah.
The bomb.
Basically, he's about to abandon the terrorist organization to go help out Hiroki, because he realizes in his heart that this is what's right.
Hiroki, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
But yeah, like Tio said, this is kind of like Bioshock Infinite, where, they raise up so many interesting, good ideas, yet it turns out that all that theorizing was a waste of our time when it turns out her grandfather, who we never even see, mind you, was the one who created this alternate universe to try and use it as a weapon against other people.
Honest question, too.
Mm-hmm.
Is it proper to have hospital patients be naked in their hospital beds?
Depends, ultimately, operation. I don't understand exactly what she was hooked for.
She's suffering from narcolepsy, which means it's kind of unhygienic to have her naked.
Again, Jova, depends. Usually a naked patient is right after a surgeon operation. But
she's been like this for 3 years.
No, in that case, no. Like you said, Jova, before, at least a traditional hospital gown should be handled.
Yeah.
I can see your side as well, Jova. However, I will also say, and yeah, I agree with what you said as well. I think Shinkai's priorities when it comes to what he explains and what he doesn't explain are also kind of messed up.
It's like my issue with the Children Who Chase Lost Voices. Like, that movie could have been so much better if it explained half its stuff.
Yeah. And the thing, I consider that Your Name fixes that
problem. Oh, by the way, they snuck her out off screen. They snuck her out of a top-secret medical facility off screen.
Oh, God, it's Iron Man 2 all over again.
A lot of off-screen stuff going on in this. I think...
I'm starting to think again this was supposed to be a mini-series, but it was merged into one movie.
Let me put it like this. What do you guys think of this? Imagine if instead of having the 3 years skip instantaneously, we could have had them grow up, and then eventually the tragedy hits where she falls into sleep, and then we see them have to deal with that tragedy, and then eventually they get torn apart because of their grief. They can't deal with that grief. Wouldn't that make for a far more interesting story? I think at
Again,
least.
Jova, I honestly
mean
think that
Pedro?
was supposed to be planned for a potential. Yeah, sorry, Jova. Yes, Pedro. I think it was like this was like an actual series instead of a proper movie, and also that was probably gonna be covered. But I guess it was gonna be cut into a gigantic OVA.
Let
So
me
you're
look it up.
telling me, what you're telling me, Teo, is that this is Makoto Shinkai's Indigo Prophecy, because Indigo Prophecy was originally going to be a trilogy, but because time wouldn't let it, he had to crunch it all into one game, and this is kind of a similar thing. Don't get me wrong, I'm by no means saying that this is as bad as Indigo Prophecy, not even close. I'm just saying it suffers from a similar problem.
It's a movie that
can,
could have been amazing, but was hindered by very clear issues in the
I
development
can
stage.
understand that, Pedro, but I also will say that again, the latter two-thirds are actually to me more interesting than the first one.
I agree.
Mostly because the premise for that is actually interesting enough to hook me up, because you can do slice of life. A slice of life, it's only so much that you can do with it, but in creating sci-fis, the possibilities are literally endless.
Sure.
So...
Yeah.
I'm
The
a
way-
big fan of slice of life stuff, and which is why I still think 5 centimeters per second is his best film, and that movie is literally just slice of life. Just these two characters living their lives, and to me, that's what Shinkai does best. And I will say that Your Name does a much better job of melding his character-driven style with more supernatural elements. I would say that Your Name is probably
still
what
have to
this
see
movie.
that.
Your Name, while I don't think it's
Guys,
quite
guys, guys, it's time for that
Hello.
plane to come back in a
There you
symbolic
go.
and meaningful
Symbolism
way.
of friendship.
Yeah.
Hello,
Oh my god, you
uh,
called it to you.
well,
It was easy.
I can tell you this though. We're about to have the best moment in the movie for me, actually.
Uh-huh. There's a battle forecast.
So there you go, Teo. This is like my Makoto Shinkai film where the big goal is to get as high into the sky as possible.
Before America comes to claim the tower.
Which is funny. He was probably high when he made this.
Remember,
Fuck you, America! The sky is ours.
well, remember, guys, this is an alternate universe where this is apparently under Soviet Union control, so of course they see America as the bad guys.
We'll see. Yeah, cue the Red Army Choir.
Even though Takuya is technically working for America, since, you know, the NSA
Yeah,
is owned by
um,
the United
Their
States.
social condition seems too pristine.
We could always use Sagata Sanshiro in a rocket to blow up the tower.
Okay, so from what I can understand, the NSA is owned by the United States, but I guess it's in some sort of peaceful agreement that the United States has some plot on that land, even though the Soviet Union owns the area of Japan where the tower is.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Oh, here you go.
Yes, we'll use the power of the violin to power up the plane.
Okay, now it's time. Okay, and now everybody, it's time for Hiroki here to channel Tenmon and give us a beautiful musical moment.
And admittedly,
Alright.
this part does make sense, you know, playing the violin to try and get as
Yeah,
close to as
listen here.
possible.
Listen here, yeah.
Please help me.
Kumbaya, my lord.
Don't think that's what they mean,
Kumbaya.
Jova.
Hold on. And guess what? Because of listening to the melody, now they flash back to their early days.
Stop moving me with friendship.
The performance has barely started and you're crying already.
Well, old
Well,
times.
remember it's Sayuri's melody, the one that he taught them. So obviously it brings back memories.
This is something I
Yeah,
feel that the
please.
movie
See,
could
this
have.
is exactly
Hold on,
to
let me finish.
Go ahead.
This is something the movie could have used more of flashbacks, actually, showcasing. Like, again, like I said, if this had been a bit more like Batman Begins, where we see some flashbacks that are relevant, that could have helped a lot more.
That's what she said.
Ding.
As 5 centimeters shows, I think Shinkai's at his best when he's just keeping it simple and having a good old story about characters dealing with life issues.
The main,
That's what he's best at,
Hold
as far
on.
as I'm concerned.
So this is essentially Sonic Adventure 2, where some character's grandfather is behind this cataclysm that's threatening the world.
All you humans who took everything from me will feel my loss and despair.
Whereas that game earned its
Oh,
plot, this one kind of got rushed to it.
The declaration of war. America, fuck yeah, coming
Go to-
again
go
to
to-
conquer the fucking day again.
America.
Japan, fuck yeah.
What about you, Shiro? You haven't said much. What do you think of this whole situation with the movie?
It's just. It's either a bit of a mess or a bit of a drag. I don't really like it at all.
I think I'm seeing a trend with Shinkai. When he's doing films that don't require him to have to, create a world of sorts, with stuff like, say, 5 centimeters per second, which for the most part, yes, it takes place in this universe, but 5 centimeters per second was realistic, Essentially, we could consider it our own world, and I'm assuming that's also the case with Your Name.
Yes, well, your name does have
Aside from, like,
supernatural...
aside from the mystical elements, I'm assuming that Your Name is essentially realistic outside of that.
Yeah, it is. It is. Up until the last third, Your Name is focused strictly on the characters and their switching bodies, Freaky Friday stuff. Yeah.
Now, when it comes to, say, this movie, which, again, we have to establish a world where parallel dimension theory is a thing, and then in Children Who Chase Lost Voices, where we have to establish an entire underworld and how death works in that one. Whenever he works with films where he needs to, basically construct a world or whatnot, that's when he falters, because he forgets to include some very important details.
Yeah.
Not saying that Not saying that the guy's a bad writer, but I think I've realized that
He has his
alone...
niche.
Yeah,
More
again...
like Java lacks focus when it comes to that.
Yes, exactly, because, honestly, again, films like this or Children Who Chase Lost Voices, I'll say it before and I'll say it again, they would be so much better if he took the time to actually realize, I need to explain this bit in the world. It's like if Ace Attorney worked in the court way it does, and they didn't explain why. We'd kind of be lost to that. I mean, sure, we'd still have the fun and whatnot, but knowing how the courts work in Ace Attorney does help our enjoyment all the more. It's a detail that may seem mundane on its own, but you realize it's important to have.
Oh.
God dang it.
The sky!
Hey!
Revolution.
We haven't.
It's
I don't
so-
think we've looked at it for this long in a
Well, actually, we
film.
have been looking at it. It's just that now we've gotten past the high clouds.
Actually, no,
But
here is
that's
the
what we were
point.
going-
There's a lot of symbolism in effect that up until this point, for a good chunk of the movie, it rained constantly without
That's a deer's rear.
I thought we were going to
So-
space for a second there.
Why was I looking at a deer's rear there for a sec?
Remember, Java, there was a cat ass before.
Yeah.
What's
What?
it
Such a
with-
great, such a great detail of animation, seeing the anus of a cat.
It's realistic, I guess.
We're gonna get done for looking at animal rear ends.
So
But yeah, it's like Java was saying. Shinkai, when the Shinkai tries to do these complex worlds, it usually falls flat. The two times the two times he's tried with this and Children, it fell flat on its face. It's one of those things where he needs to realize
he
that
needs a
he's at his
team for
best.
that stuff.
Not just that, he can do it on his own, but he needs to know what he's best at. And Your Name is one of those where he did manage to. The supernatural elements are only used in the climax and everything is properly explained up until that point. So by the time the supernatural elements in Your Name come up, we already know.
Guys, I just said the title.
Yeah.
So basically, somehow bringing her physical body to this dimension will allow her now to come back.
Because of course it will. Basically, to remember that scene from 5 centimeters where they were watching the tower, and there's a rocket coming up. That's actually one of the experimental rockets that the Americans have been trying to do all this. So basically, this is the Makoto Shinkai cinematic universe.
And yet these
Sure.
two boys were able to
And there you go.
create a plane that did somehow.
That thing where the sky was seemed like it was divided into. This is it.
Parallel dimensions.
Right now, in this exact moment, in 5 centimeters per second, the two characters are looking up to the tower.
Yep.
For those who have seen it, they know what I mean.
Oh no, the animation's turned into how they make the skybox.
There you go. The top of the
That's
tower has an interdimensional swirly thing.
Portal.
What?
Yeah, I can see the.
Oh, and Sayuri loves. And Sayuri loves Hiroki. We kind of forgot to establish that, but she does.
Well, it was obvious.
She
honestly.
loves him now.
Also, the pair with the Tower of Babel is stronger.
Yes,
Now I
it
think about
is.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the film.
That was
Pick up, Frodo.
Just kidding.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
There you go. She's awake.
Eyes
What
on
did
the
he do?
cloche. He does.
Look where you're going, you moron. You're gonna crash.
Watch out! You're
Is
gonna
that a shooting
crash.
star about to crash into them, I
He's
wonder?
falling. Look at how that's moving.
And now this causes... Just watch.
The music is great, though.
Oh, Hokkaido is pretty much going full negative zone.
Yep, remember,
Sure, why not?
basically that's what the tower was doing, generating a phantom
Look where
zone
you're
of sorts.
going. Stop.
I'm actually more
fucking
interested
ahead.
I'm actually more interested to see how exactly is going to be life in Japan from this point on.
Yeah, like, okay, seriously. For a good portion of the sim, we've had this dilemma where the tower has been consuming bits of Japan, and yet this is only now the first time we're seeing it physically. Like, how cool would it have been to see how it was affecting people there? Oh wow, these two are back together. But
Hello, you're flying a dangerous plane near a dangerous anomaly. Where you're going, please.
Everything will be all right, Whips. We're
But-
together now.
but what about the tower? The tower's
Okay,
kind of still screwing with
Gonna
people.
be alright. Well, if Sayuri was Sayuri was the catalyst, wait, it ends like this.
Wait.
Yes.
Huh.
Are you fucking serious?
Oh, hold on.
Nope, not yet. Got to.
Stop doing
The
this
bullshit
movie.
fake out endings.
That's
Return
true.
of the hey, Dwebs, Return of the
wait,
King
wrong
inspired.
And now
No,
they're
no,
going
actually-
Oh,
to.
no, we're in Doctor Strangelove.
And now we are
Actually,
about to
Is the
meet
cowboy
the tower.
gonna go wee?
Actually, Pedro, I got to disagree.
We'll
Yes, I don't
meet again.
Pedro,
Sorry, Liz, I had to do this. Go ahead.
Pedro, I'll disagree with that. Yes, the whole multiple endings thing and Return of the King is bullshit. But at least when they cut away, it goes into a different scene. With this, it goes into the same scene.
The range of pollution has stopped. Wait,
the
wait,
tower-
wait. Pollution? Are you telling me that this was an environmental PSA all along?
Oh.
And the tower disappears.
Basically, they had with them a special missile that would blow up that tower. Yeah,
Remember,
that's right.
It was using part of a bomb that Okage was constructing.
Again, though, those two boy prodigies, they're just that dang special. They created the plane that was able to go higher than a rocket ship could go into a parallel dimension, and they somehow knew without even testing that missile would blow up the entire tower that's causing
Well, they had to try.
all this. But, I mean, it's like, well, it's done so quickly, though,
No,
and
it's
there's the
actually over.
ending.
We'll meet again. Don't know
Somewhere.
Don't know when.
Bloody hell.
And I know.
Bloody hell, hope they don't meet again.
Alright, so that was the place promised in early days. Taya, why don't you start, since you're apparently the one who likes this movie the most?
I can see where the complaints may come from. Well, I mean, I have to be honest. The movie it's still a mess. Like there's no way around it. But to me, it's an interesting mess. I mean, the potential is there. And
There's a lot to
again,
talk about, at least.
I honestly think the problem could have been sorted out better if the intro was just ironed out to 10 minutes because you didn't need it that much.
Yeah.
And you would focus more establishing what was going on in the two-thirds, right? Two-thirds.
I agree.
But again, this feels a lot like a mini-series that was cut and compressed into a 90 minutes movie. So, I don't know. I honestly think there's still potential, so maybe a sequel in the future we're gonna explain the missing gaps. Who knows? Again, though, this seems since it's still in continuity with some of the other Shinkai movies, who knows? Maybe it really is part of a bigger universe, but we still don't know the full extent of. I still had to see your name though, but again, so far I guess my favorite Shinkai movies may be. Oh, that's tough.
Mine is still 5 centimeters for me. No
I would
contest.
say that, but it's say that it also plays safe a bit too much because it's a slice of life story that I appreciate, but it's still slice of life. There's only so much I can actually enjoy of it. But that's a problem, like Jova mentioned, when he tries to do something else. Shinkai kind of like, as we say in my country, pieces out of a toilet.
Yeah.
And even when he does go back to his comfort zone, he can still fuck it up like he did in Garden of Words.
I honestly
Oh,
think,
Garden of Words, I forgot about
it's
that.
like when it comes to writing these sci-fi, mystical stuff, he kind of needs a co-writer, someone that keeps him in check for this. Because I honestly think the potential there is where he just needs to be railed in the right direction. I haven't seen Voices of a Distant Star, but from what I heard, that's also like sci-fi themed. So I'm actually pretty curious to see how that turns out.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's
Well, Taylor, I
pretty
can
much-
tell you. Sorry, finish. Go ahead.
Oh no, yeah, I haven't still said which my Shinkai movies may be. Favorite Shinkai movies may be. I guess for the sake of actually being, good enough, 5 centimeters. But I'd say in terms of mystical elements, Children Who Chase the Lost Voices, even though that movie is still a mess on its own. I would say though that in terms of comparing messes, this one I understood a bit better compared to Children Who Chase the Lost Voices.
Well, Taylor, I can tell you that Your Name is where he finally succeeds in doing something that caters to his strengths while at the same time having some more supernatural elements to mix the whole to mix up things.
But again, I still wanna hope for either like a revival or a sequel or something that fills in the missing gaps or something else. Who knows? Maybe even the manga did this and I don't even know. But anyway, that's all for me.
I guess I'll go next. Again, this is exactly why I still like Makoto Shinkai even when he technically fails, because even his failures are interesting to talk about. Like for example, Garden of Words. Garden of Words was laughably soap operish. This is what the fuck are you even doing? Kind of a mess. Children of Lost Voices was also kind of like this. But yeah, and this is definitely a movie that's a mess, like Teo said. Like, I still think this plot would have been a lot better. Okay. Considering this plot, considering the plot, this probably I think this probably would have been a lot better if it was 2 hours long. We needed an extra half hour to properly establish the transition between one genre and the other, in the sense that we actually got to see them grow up even more, and bond and all that shit. We actually could see, maybe we can even have a bit of Hiroki and Sayuri having a date or two, to establish their relationship. And then eventually we actually see on screen Sayuri actually falling into sleep, and then the two boys have to deal with the grief and all that shit. So after that, the transition into the sci-fi stuff would have felt much more natural, if you ask me. But like Teo said, this was incredibly rushed, clearly. And it suffers a lot because of it. It's hard to care at some point because all the elements feel not fleshed out and they're just thrown in there without any proper build-up or explanation. It becomes pretty hard to get behind the movie, especially and like I said, some of the dialogue and the narrations can be quite pretentious at times, even. So yeah, it's a mess, but it is an interesting mess. I will give it that. Shiroi, what do you think?
Again, it's either it's just it's almost entirely incoherent. I mean, it doesn't really explain things very well. The music is nice, but like you said before, Pedro, I think he should just stick to writing slice of life stuff.
That's what he's best at, clearly.
Mm-hmm. And I know that's more difficult for people to get into because it is just slice of life. But I think he is a lot better at it.
Yes. I can tell you.
Your Name is a great movie.
Yeah, your name is where he finally managed to get a good grasp of meshing both. But anyway, are you done?
Yeah, that's it.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Dubs.
Yeah, I'll be honest. This film was really boring. I mean,
ahead.
the half hour was just the half hour was just really just generic, free kids going around just lollygagging, and the rest of it's just bogged down in boring sci-fi exposition. It's not even that exciting. It's just them just sitting around talking about bringing quantum mechanics and all sorts of generic sci-fi mumbo jumbo that I've seen a million times before and done more excitingly, might I add. And I nearly fell asleep.
Well, to be fair, you do that a lot,
And
even
that's-
with good
and that's-
movies.
And that's saying something. This is a film that has crazy interdimensional portals and has a bunch of kids trying to build a plane and also all that other sort of stuff. And I was nearly bored to sleep. That's pretty bad. I'm glad Shinkai improved after this, because if all the other films he made were just like this, then he wouldn't have lasted long in the film industry.
So basically, Dave, you're saying that you were more endeared by the romance movie.
Yeah,
That's
and
because that movie. Well, that's because that movie's actually well made. That's the big difference.
I love the irony.
Yeah. Normally I prefer sci-fi to romance.
But Dweebs, don't you just love romantic sci-fi movies like Passengers?
Good romantic sci-fi movies.
I digress.
Yeah, but all in all, this film's just boring.
Go ahead, Joe. Close us out.
Yeah, bit tough to place this movie. Like, there are things I like about it, and like I said, to me, well, from the Makoto Shinkai movies I've seen, I've not yet seen his short film, The Voice from a Distant Past, or Your Name. So let's see. To rank the Makoto Shinkai's films I've seen, let's see. Garden of Words is definitely the worst. Choo-Choo No Chase Lost Voices, that's the second worst. This, to me, is the second best of the Viz films. Granted, the best I guess I'd seen is... Well, yeah. The best I've seen, I guess, is 5 centimeters per second. That one, in terms of being a good film, I will admit I am kind of a bit more entertained by this film. Alright, let's get down to the nitty-gritty here. I don't consider it a genre shift, how it changes for the first 30 minutes. In fact, if anything, I would agree with you that maybe they shouldn't have spent as much time as they did with that bit if they were just going to go to this point. Again, to me, here's what they should have done. Actually have a proper blend of stuff here and there. To me, I mean, yeah, they did actually foreshadow that stuff fine enough. Again, the major problem I have with this movie is its lack of using the potential it has at its fingertips, or even doing much with it. We theorize all this stuff about parallel dimensions, only turns out, oh, just this old mad scientist did it. And it turns out this girl is somehow unknowingly the source of it. And this tower here leads to it, and is eclipsing part of Japan, even though we don't really even show the effects of that, so... Basically, it's a movie that comes out of the starting gate running very fast, but pretty much does not have the endurance to suffice, so it comes to the finish line coughing, wheezing, and barely walking at that point. I mean, to me, okay, it's what could have been a good movie with the trappings of a bad one. Like, on its own, it would be fine. It's every little problem and detail that rolls up into a big bag of problems. Again, like with Children Who Chase Lost Voices. The difference is that, at the very least, when it came to this one, they at least did explain stuff. Yes, the explanation was incredibly stupid and weak, but at the very least they explained it. Children Who Chase Lost Voices, never. No, they never got to explaining it. And I'll admit the plot here is a bit more appealing to me here than Children Who Chase Lost Voices, when essentially it's about hey, girl gets dragged into this because of selfish people. Because, yeah, the characters are mainly selfish in that one. Here, at the very least, the characters are more believable and more endearing because we've gotten to know them better. Again, the makings are here. The problem was actually creating the world because, yeah, this is definitely one of those story-driven movies, not character-driven. The characters are nice and enduring. The problem is mainly the story and how well it's crafted, sadly. The characters can only be as good as the story allows them to be in this case. And
Makoto
they
Shinkai
weren't the
sorry.
best.
Shinkai is clearly a very talented filmmaker, which is why I stick with him, because when they're good, they're really good.
Yeah.
Like so this guy needs is someone above him, but I think he has way too much creative control in his studio. Like he needs someone above him to rear him, and someone to tell him we shouldn't do that. Someone who actually will tell him no. I think he doesn't have anybody telling him no, and that's the problem.
Maybe not even that. I think he at least needs a team, like, an actual brain trust. If not someone ahead above of him, then he needs equals, Again, he needs a proper team to bounce ideas off of. Especially when it comes to generating these huge world plots. But, hey, again, this movie isn't even really terrible, and it is something that I could rewatch if I had friends to watch it with, so I guess there's that. Again, though, I just wish they'd done more with the potential.
Basically, everybody, what's your name?
Dwight plus my name.
All right, so that was Place Promised. Tune in for your name, I guess. Yeah,
and then later on,
from a distant star, I guess.
That too.
That too. Maybe we can do a double feature. We'll watch the short and the movie. Why not?
We'll
See you then.
See
you then.
Yeah.